Yeah. Good morning. I slid into the seat right in time. What's up, everybody? Um, got our got our beverage here. What's up? Pale Rider texted me earlier, asking me if I was going live, and oh, there he is. There he is. I'm pointing at him like you guys can see that. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. Talked to Sterling earlier. I know he's live, but I'm pretty sure he's well aware that I usually go live at 7, which is fine. He's not stepping on me at all. He had some encouraging words yesterday for me. He and I chatted. He was supposed to meet up with me, but he forgot where I lived and did not come through the right town. I get that a lot. People are like, "Hey man, I'm in Missouri. Where you at?" I'm about 300 miles from you. So, anyways, the cat wants out. Anyways, let's get rid of this thing because you have to see me up close, right? Anyways, let me adjust something here, and then we'll get to going. Because I didn't. Here's how fickle YouTube is. Because I did not go live. Oh,
Hi,
Rosa. Not sure what that was about. Oh, okay. I'm not. That was wild. My wife is very rarely on this YouTube's, so anyways, since I didn't go live for most of last week, my numbers have gone down, which is interesting. The YouTube algorithm, and I've been watching everybody's uptick in shorts, and like it's probably why my channel won't grow, because number one, my content sucks, according to some of the YouTube analytics masters. But the other side of that is because I not refuse, but just don't want to put the effort into the shorts, which it's got to be all clickbaity and edited and all that. I'm just not that talented. I guess there's a program out there that will like take a video that you do and like condense it down to 1 minute. It'll cut out all the ums and uhs and the pauses and all that. I need a filter that takes out all the ums or the you knows. So, anyways, enough about me. Let's do some shout outs. But I guess the bottom line is my numbers were struggling and notifications aren't coming out as strong. But man, you get YouTube burnout. I see Scott in here. He and I were talking about this the other day. Man, when there's so many notifications, I'm subscribed to so many people, and my phone is constantly going off. And it's tiring, especially when there's a minor YouTube war going on between a lot of the people I subscribe to, and it just gets kind of ridiculous. That's kind of why I backed off on my Saturday Night Live feeds, because everybody else seems to go live at that time, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just spend that time with my family, hanging out with the wife, Bratlings, and listen to some music. So, anyways, good morning. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. If you were working, I hope it was a profitable weekend. I hope that you were able to stay out of bad weather. The weather map looks pretty quiet for the most part, unless you're in northern Michigan or in Maine. Those are ridiculous places to live. Oh, I'm in an honorary mood today too, so. But there's a little bit of stuff going on out west. Let's present that screen. Actually, it's more north. There you go. There's your weather map as far as alerts and warnings go. Basically, a lot of winter weather advisory through here as usual. And then this is still all jacked up California just sucks. I'm sorry. It's just tough out there. So, but anyways, so that's what's going on there. All right. So WCF Invader, what is good? Where is everybody? Yeah, I was explaining that. It's we'll get the numbers back up. Not a big deal. I don't do this for the numbers. Now, granted, if there's only like 5 people in here, it could be kind of lame if I'm just trying to bounce off the crowd. But if I have a certain goal or an interview going on, or I want to talk about something, I don't really pay attention to that number. Todd, what's up? Good morning. SST, Sic Semper Tyrannus. My name is Nobody. Good morning. Jeremy Rice. Howdy. Bull of Woods, what's up? Cascade Transport, good morning. Pale Rider TV, coffee is flowing. You know, I came up with this parody idea where I could pretend I'm Pale Rider and I would just eat ground coffee in spoonfuls. I think that's what he does. I think that's what he does. The amount of coffee he goes through is crazy. Greg Zimmer, greetings from South Dakota. Yeah, South Dakota sucks, but I'm glad you're making progress. Randy Curry, what's up? Upstate New York. Yeah, there's a little bit of weather going on up there. Not too bad, though. Desert Okie Pam, good morning. Scott, SRO Logistics, good morning. Will Burner, good morning, my friend. It's good to see you. Thank you, Will Burner, fellow bearded trucker there. And that's what my wife was coming in to say hi. My boss says hi to your boss. So Toby Morrell, morning from Idaho. Reefer 77, good morning. CDN, what's up? Good morning, Steve. Strange, no alert. Yeah, I know. Let's see if I've got a notification. Yeah, there's one notification. So there. So, but what are you gonna do, right? Wilburn got notification. North Dakota yesterday. Truck pilot Nate. Good morning. Good Monday morning. You do it for not for the numbers, but for the pay. Yeah, just like trucking. You guys truck for trucking, not for the numbers, right? SST was a good record label. SST was a good record label back in the day. I remember that. Straight coffee right out of the can is awesome. Oh man, I got a notification, but I was already watching YouTube. Yep. Jason, what's up? Good morning. I man, February, March for my household is just pretty intense. I would like to do a few loads, but I don't know with everything that's going on with the house sale and a couple events coming up the next 3 weekends. Of course, we got Matt's for the final weekend. I don't think I'm going to make it back in the truck. So we've got one guy going on vacation and one guy that I'll probably book him a load. He'll be empty Wednesday or Thursday. And then everybody else is either taking a break or they're going to some dedicated stuff I pointed them in the direction to. That's the great thing about networking is there's a lot of advantages to networking, and that's what YouTube platform is. There's a lot of people like Cascade. You know, he knows me from YouTube, CDN, Scott SRO. You know, these people have become really good friends, and you know, and it was all thanks to YouTube. Uh, Pale Rider. I mean, he's probably the first YouTuber I met. Um, you know, he early when I was what's the word I'm looking for? Researching. Gosh, brain dead here. Uh he was somebody that paid off a lease truck. And at that time, it was very rare for me to hear that. So I said, "Hey, man, I like your videos. You paid off a lease truck. You got any advice? You know, that kind of thing." And one thing led to another. And the first time we met, we talked on the phone, but the first time we actually met, it was at the Choctaw Casino truck stop there in Durant, Oklahoma. And he's got a video on that. It's 2014. I was literally on the first run with my or second run on my T680 that my company had issued me, and we it was morning coffee with Snorelord, coffee with the driver. I think Pale Rider was starting a series with that, and we've been friends ever since. We met up in Rockwall with him and Ponzi at the TA there. I lucked out and found a spot, and that was when Pale Rider inspected my first truck. He approved. It was like 100,000 degrees outside, and here I was in t-shirt and shorts, and he's sitting there in full cowboy boots and jeans. But that video is also on the tubes somewhere. So, but yeah, YouTube is a great networking um, platform. So, book a load, get in the truck. The rest will work itself out. No, I agree with that. So there might be a couple of shorties I'll try to do this week. WCF Invader's been throwing some loads at me, so we'll see. It's got to make sense. I have a feeling my truck's going to light up like a Christmas tree because of the DEF fluid. I don't know. It may not be that bad, though. Trucking with T-Bone, good morning. The aviation community is the same way. Lots of friends made through YouTube. I guess most interests are the same way. Yeah, I mean that's the great one of the positives about YouTube and social network is it's you can make some really good friends, but you can also make some enemies too. I attribute YouTube to me losing a friend as well. So I mean, I've lost a couple of friends because of YouTube. Egos get big, and I say things that I shouldn't, and then you lose friendships. So it could be a double-edged sword for sure. Some team, good morning. Virgo Life, how do you feel about dispatchers now that you're doing it? Virgo Life, my humbleness, I was humbled, not humbled, but I got a big dose of humility the first time I had to dispatch my own truck. After about a year at Landstar, I realized the challenges that load planners and dispatchers go through. Now, the style of dispatch I do is different than, say, a company driver dispatcher. They're more like fleet managers. I'm more of a strategic load searcher. That's kind of where it's kind of what I do. What I have found, but I've learned of quite a few things. So just like if you're a manager at a store or a restaurant, you have to manage people and their personalities and their strengths and their flaws. So there's definitely some management skills that are needed. I I have a little bit of management skills from a restaurant that I worked in years ago, and I've been reading this book by Ryan Michler about leadership, and there's a true leader or manager doesn't it's more of an influencer. Sorry, I had to cough up a lung there. And I try to influence people to help themselves. And the majority of people that are struggling right now in the market because they won't get out of their own way. I was talking about this to Sterling last night. And the right now, and this goes with anything. I don't care if you're a truck driver or not. We are our own worst enemy. And a lot of people are finding out that they're coming in. They came into this industry not, very ill prepared. And that's what this market does. This is not anything new. The worst part about a down market for me is the reactions that people have to it. And when you, like, for example, let's say that I wasn't dispatching. Let's say I wasn't safety manager at Like Trucking, and I was supposed to be running my truck full time. And you would see me here every morning, and I refused to, move my truck. And you go, why won't you move your truck? Why won't you move your truck? And I keep telling you, well, it sucks out there. It's like if I keep doing that, eventually people would get frustrated. People would call, say, hey, my real friends would call and say, hey, um, dude, are you okay? Is there something else going on? And then other people would judge you like, well, you're just lazy, you don't want to work, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is it would be frustrating either way. Whether you liked me or hated me, you would be frustrated because I wasn't doing what it was obvious I needed to do. And I get a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails from people that they know what they need to do, they just don't do it. So it's frustrating, and there's a part of me that, well, I'll get into that second part later, but it's just, but I have, when people say, well, dispatchers suck, going back to Virgo Life's comment, I get it, because you're the driver. Me as the driver sitting in the truck, not knowing what I was going to be doing, not being communicated with. That's the number one thing for me is communication. And whether you're a dispatcher, broker, driver, communication is probably the most important thing that you can achieve. That is what helps all relationships, all of them. I don't care if it's your marriage, I don't care if it's with your kids, I don't care if it's with your broker, I don't care if it's with the guy across the street. Communication is the number one commodity that people are looking for. And communication doesn't mean bitching about something. It means, telling your problems and understanding how they can be resolved, or just communicating that things are going smoothly. And so as a dispatcher, I try to do that. So when I'm dispatching someone and they're putting 100% of their faith in me and their business, I don't take that lightly. And I do what I can, but most of the time, there's a lot of times I have a lot of restrictions put on me, and it makes it tough for me to do my job. So, especially now when it's you can't afford to make a whole lot of mistakes or be too picky about anything. So, have an own operator signing on at the end of the week. Hopefully, another at the end of the month. Growing slow and steady. That's the way to do it. My inspection improved your truck. Thank you, Pale Rider. I sold my dry van, and the new owner claims half a mile per gallon better due to quality trailer skirts. Quick math says that's $5K a year in fuel savings. Nice. Most people are lucky if they have 2 to 3 genuine friends in their lifetime, internet not included. I agree with that, SSD. Bless you, Snizzer. What the hell does that mean? I would think that I would think dispatching an owner-operator who owns their equipment more difficult than company driver who might complain but has to do the load you send him. Owner-operator can reject. Yes, absolutely. Now, I've never dispatched a company guy, but there would be a different approach to that. I would still look, here's the deal. If you're doing contract freight or something dedicated, that's pretty easy to deal with. He's like, okay, here's your next load. Have a nice day. Let me know if you have any problems. And but an owner operator, and that's the thing. Look, so here's how it goes down with me. So you call me up and say, hey, I want you to dispatch me. I'm like, all right, well, how, first thing I'm going to ask you, and let me just put this out here. If you want to be a part of Rig Runner's dispatch service, here's the deal. The first thing I'm going to want to know is your costs, hands down. And why is that? Because that's important. Because I'm not going to put you on. I'm not going to sit there and just take money from you, knowing that you're slowly going out of business. I like sleeping at night. And that's the difference between these dispatch services that are calling you single truck authorities know that these dispatch services, usually from other countries, are calling you, promising you 10 to 12,000 a week. And they don't care what loads they're booking for you. And unless they have some kind of dedicated freight, they can't fulfill that promise. Guaranteed. I make no promises other than to keep you moving when I can. And so the second thing I'm going to ask you is, I'm going to ask details about your authority, your truck, your trailer, whether you got hazmat and, tanker endorsement and all that. And then what areas do you want to run? What areas do you prefer to run? How much home time do you need? I've got this long list. And so the more I know you as the driver, as the owner operator, the more I can serve you. That's my sales pitch. I'm not going to boast anything. I'm not going to brag about anything. I'm going to tell you, look, and I'll tell you if it's a challenge. Look, if you want to be home every day in the Northeast, that's going to be a challenge. And what I have found is if you're like Greg Zimmer in this chat, if you're like him, you're going to make some money still. But you're going to work your ass off for it. If you need to be home every weekend, I get that. There's family obligations. I am the last person to talk about fulfilling, not fulfilling family obligations, which is why I'm home. And so I just read a comment that I got to stop reading comments when I'm. But anyways, that's how I serve. Is that okay? What's your do's and what's your do nots? What's your what areas do you want to run? What kind of truck do you have? If you have a low fuel mileage truck, then I know it's going to be more of a struggle. And then we go from there. My job is to keep you moving. My job is to help you strategize a good way to run for the needs that need to be met. And right now, people like Greg, Cascade, Scott SRO, those people are making money still because they're anytime, anywhere type drivers. And Sterling asked me, what would you be doing if you were running full time? It's like, oh, I have a strategy in mind. But thanks to keeping my costs down, which has been a challenge here lately because of the truck, I can still work within my parameters. But if I have to go outside of those parameters, I will. And that's the thing. And I think that's part of the reason why I don't think I'm going to go out until after April, because until April, when I get back from Matt's, because the money I can make within my parameters is very low right now. And there's too many things at home at risk to not be able to deal with that. But if the right run comes along, I might go ahead and get my feet wet. So it's a perfect balance of understanding what the driver needs and what the driver wants, and that's a hard balance sometimes. We all want $3 a mile wherever we go. We all want $3 a mile to bounce from state to state, but you know what? That's not happening right now. And so you have to look at the revenue per mile, you have to look at the revenue per day, and you have to stay in the areas that have the highest demand for trucks. And if you have a strategy when you go into an area that has a low demand for trucks, and understand that you're going to take a hit out of there or you're going to deadhead out of there. So that's kind of how I approach it all. What's your view on back soliciting? Shipper wants to work directly through me, but a third party sets up the lane through a broker. Very gray area, maintaining course for now. I'm not going to comment on that because every situation's different. So you just got to be careful. And you know, that's all I can. I don't have any experience with that. So just letting you know that. Apparently, communication is hard these days. It is. Solar now offers truckers consulting on adulting. Sometimes it feels like that, really. T-Bone, yes, even with the different ways there are to communicate. For a fee, Snorelord, a psychotherapist. Are you calling me a psycho? SST, you mean dispatching service doesn't involve taking the driver to raise? Good morning, y'all. Jackknife, what's up? So, what, take her to daycare because I'm just passing hopes? I have no idea what you're talking about. My cat loves your intro music. Good deal, Marty. Morning from Chicago, CB. What's up? Easiest to dispatch are those that have very few limitations on where they will run. Now, here's the thing. So last year, if you told me I want to stay within a certain state, that was fairly easy to do. But when the market becomes thin and volumes are down, then yes, the fewer limitations you have, the more potential there is. And that's key. And yes, it is easier to dispatch. You know why? Because now I'm looking at the revenue, the rate per day, the rate per mile. I'm looking at the gross and the net as much as I possibly can, and then strategizing based off of that. And that's what you should be doing for your own truck if you're self-dispatched. That's what your dispatcher should be doing for your truck if you're an owner operator being dispatched. But here's the thing though, if you're driving a lease truck, your job is to serve the carrier with their freight platform. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's not about you, it's about them. And so you go off and get your own authority, and now it's all about you. Yourself. And then now you have but a lot of people, there's an attitude of entitlement when that happens. Well, I deserve this. I deserve this much per mile. I deserve this much pay. I deserve to be off every weekend. I deserve to be off every other day. Well, you still answer to the carrier, but you're the carrier. So if your costs are too high, You got to answer that. Some people cannot handle the freedom because with freedom comes responsibility, correct? And that's the bottom line right now. So, SST, what's up? I bet your cost per mile is to the moon. Absolutely, it is. It's like, I don't know, about $1,000 a mile right now. No joke, Cascade. Yep. I took your advice and increased my multi-stop and hazmat loads. Definitely an improvement. Good deal, Toby. Excellent. And that's the kind of feedback I like seeing. And being able to, that was my Landstar spiel. And while we have hazmat authority, I let my hazmat lapse, and I wish I could do that again. I mean, I guess I can go out and get my endorsements, but at this point it'd be kind of pointless. But if I worked at Landstar, I would definitely. I mean, you have to have your hazmat to be at Landstar, but I would definitely be taking advantage of those loads because even and here's the thing: I just got done telling you that people are their own worst enemy, and I was amazed of how many people at Landstar said that they never hauled hazmat, even though they've got it because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to. It's too much. It's too much BS. Well, when it's the best paying stuff on the low board, then are you willing to put up with BS or are you willing to file bankruptcy? You Truck drivers are people too. Sometimes that's always not the case. Usually I would not go west of Mississippi, or at least not much, because as far as I'm concerned, the West Coast is usually dead unless you live in California and have a reefer and already have connections. In Florida was usually no unless it was produce season or if I was running flatbed hurricane season. And that's common sense stuff, Jackknife. I'm not sitting there saying that you got to be willing to go into, Albuquerque, New Mexico, because that's the best load I could find. I'm just saying that, and look, um, I try not to put people in situations that I would not do. Like I'll like, look here, man. Here's the only load option we have. And they're like, well, what would you do, Steve? I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Let's look for something else. Or I'll say, well, I wouldn't do it, but here's the things and here's the reasons why. Because of these things that you've mentioned, Jackknife. And the part that, well, I mean, it's I mean that's kind of just common sense. I know these things. But these dispatch services, that are promising 10 to 12,000 a week, they'll send you to Miami. They'll send you to, you know, Phoenix, Arizona. They'll send you to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And without any thought to repercussions on what it's going to take to get out of those places. I try not to do that unless it's the only option. And sometimes, I get a phone call, "Hey man, I'm going to be in Denver Monday." Oh, okay. So I got to deal with that. So, but there are parameters and there are limitations. I do not go west of I-35 if I can help it because it is a struggle to get out. I do not usually go east of I-77 But you know what? If I can get a load up to Maine and I know I can get myself out and it's going to make all my bank for the month or for the week, then I'll do it. Been there, I've done that. As an owner operator, I've been to most of the 48 states. As an owner operator, I know what works, what doesn't. And if I can just stay in the great areas, the good markets, and keep moving, that's the name of the game. The short haul game is a great strategy, especially at Schneider when you're dropping and hooking. That's the only thing I miss is the short game was a lot easier at Schneider because you could drop and hook. You can do two $400 loads in one day and have your daily rate up. David Edwards, good morning. Jackknife, LOL, be better be like $8 a mile if you're going to Albuquerque. Jackknife, those things generally true, but I live in a different dead market, and I have learned that you can make good money in dead markets with some planning and a willingness to do what others don't. And that's the thing. Sometimes you got to get that. Okay, so what would you do if you did get, $8 is kind of ridiculous, but let's say you got 5 going into Albuquerque. What's your strategy? I know what my strategy is because I've done that. Thank you, Wilburn. Hit the like, guys. The Here, I'll give you an example here. Let's get the 1, 2, 3 up here. Albuquerque, New Mexico. To anywhere. Let's do Albuquerque. You got to do a 250-mile radius. Oh, what date? We'll do any date for now, and we'll put flatbed. All flatbed. All van. No, we'll do flatbed. Wow, they changed the trailer type. That's kind of cool. Fly. Before this lights up, I'm going to say El Paso, Pueblo, Colorado, 244 miles away. So there are loads that come out of Albuquerque, but look where they're going: Montana, California, Carlsbad. There's a couple out, but they're all going to other areas. And this is where Cascade really shines, man. He knows how to do this. Here you go. 265. Even though I put 250, they kind of go a little bit beyond. All low boards kind of do that. So evidently, there's a shipper out of Albuquerque that goes to Idaho, Sheridan, Wyoming. I'm surprised El Paso's not. Maybe because El Paso's what, 300 miles, maybe. So let's do a 500-mile radius of Albuquerque. Yeah, now we got Vegas, Ardmore, Oklahoma, Denver, Carlsbad, Odessa, Lyons, Kansas, Saratoga, Wyoming. So if you do a load into Albuquerque, you got to know that you're going to add 500 miles to the all-mile rate, and then you're going to look at your daily rate as well. And if you get a load straight out of Albuquerque, then good on you. But then it's going to go to places like Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. But check this out. Here's Las Vegas to Bloomsbury, New Jersey. They're at $3.95 a mile. It's removable gooseneck. That's why. Concrete mixer, over height. Yeah, so there's a lot more to that load than that. So I mean, there's you just got to know the area. Denver's kind of similar. Denver, you're either going to deadhead to Kansas City or for the most part, if you don't want to take their $10 beer out of there. Good morning, Tennessee. It still appears our big trucking companies are still making record profit. Tells me the contract rates have not yet come down to spot prices. No, it hasn't. FreightWaves has shown the graphs. Contract freight, I mean, that's the thing when the market becomes really, really good, capacity tightens, is the big carriers, Sage has talked about this. The big carriers come in and say, you know what, we'll do it for cheaper, knowing that we're going to lock in this rate, knowing that the rates are going to come down in the spot. And that's it happens every cycle. I remember Snyder sent us all letters. Hey, the spot market's down. You want to come back? They had radio ads on Sirius XM. Hey, spot market got you down, drivers. Well, come back to Snyder. And because they know the game. Book ahead or deadhead out to a better freight. Yes. I did an Arizona load last month, deadheaded 900 miles to Texas. Sterling, good morning. Pigtail, what's up? In New Mexico, is there any intrastate loads? Not much. Here, I'll show you. So, Marty, always asking the oddball questions. But we love them, right? So you go to Hot Mark Map, go to your density map, or you can go to the list. Then we'll click on good old New Mexico. Oh, wait. No. Let's hover over it. There's 0 intrastate loads on all platforms, Marty. There's your answer. Whereas you go to Texas, there's 1,278 intra-state loads. So Arizona, there's 26 out of the whole. That's all platforms, guys. That's all trailer types. So New Mexico is just bad area for freight. — 4,500 miles in 8 days. A reset, 12,000. There you go. Good morning from Flint, Michigan. Dee Dee has experienced the snow for the first time. She is geeked. A friend of mine used to do a channel with his dog. He did that dog's first foray into the snow. It was just hilarious. I think I picked the bad one. Live load, floor load of plastic cups. Are you in Waxahachie, Texas? There, Sean. Are you loading at Solo Cup? Been there many times. Matt K. Good morning. Pale Rider says I-80 in California is still closed from Reno to Sacramento. Yes. I took I-10 into California just to be safe. That's probably a great bet. Are you going home for a couple of days, Shannon? Just one day. I leave out tomorrow. She says. Now this is flatbed, but I went to Sierra Vista, Arizona, deadheaded to Temple, Texas, back to Portland, 900-mile deadhead, 12K in 8 to 9 days. Hard driving, but the market makes me work harder. There you go. Reels of cats and raccoons is money, I am told. That is true. That is absolutely true. But anyways, let's look at the van market for now. Arizona's not red in that one, so let's take a look at what's coming out of Arizona. A lot of Arizona to California. Here's 205 a mile from Tolleson to Grandview, Washington. Here's the same load. Oh wait, yeah, it's the same load. Glendale to Claremont, Missouri. They're at $1.54. The average is at 25, but no one's paying averages anymore unless there's something unique or special or desperate about the load. So I could probably get that one for about 23. 7,000 pounds, so it wouldn't be too terrible if you couldn't get them up on the rate, but it would get you to Missouri, which is a good market. Actually, let's take a look at that again. And Missouri to anywhere, there's 42 loads. So now this has got to be a partial. And if it's not, then boxes. These are probably those U boxes from U-Haul. They hardly ever want to pay on these, but the average is $1.25, and they're at $1.07 from Phoenix to City of Industry, California. So you have to look at the freight coming out of there if you wanted to use that instead of deadheading. Yeah, California anywhere there's 439 loads. California to Arizona there's 42. So see what those rates look like. Your backhauls, what would they look like? About $297 a mile, $950. So if you get them up to 950 or even 1,000, and you get them up to 500 on the other run, you're looking at it's what 1,500. So divide that by 2. If you can get these 2 loads, that divide that revenue by 2 days, that's what you're going to make. And that would balance out your rate per mile. So there's a lot. So California to Arizona is a good lane, or it can be a moving lane, I guess is probably a better term for it. And if you can find that broker that will pay you decent to go into California, and you set that up, you're good to go. Depending on your costs, I mean, you might need $1,000 a day. Well, then you need to just leave, go somewhere else, because that market's not going to support that. So let's take a look at Washington. Walla Walla, going to California. So your best paying loads are going to be going to California. So you'd look at that like, okay, what would be a good triangle? Arizona to California, California to Washington, Washington to California, California to Arizona. Hey, that's a good route. That could be done. That will make you some money. So that load wasn't too bad until you said oversized. I'm booked till the weekend, and then next week till Tuesday. Good deal. All legal size freight, Cascade. Says Van Market in Hubbard, Ohio, please. We could do that. Find loads. Over there by Truck World, one of my favorite truck stops. Let's see. We'll do it for the next 4 days. Apply. For trailer type, we will do all van. No, we'll just do just van. All right. Oops. Get impatient here. There you go. All right. So this is what I've been seeing, Jerome. Okay. The majority of the loads on the load board are all going west. No one wants to go west. As you can see, your highest paying loads are going to Washington, Reno, Salt Lake, California, Arizona, Colorado, right? Or Florida. And that's the thing. If you need to stay above a certain rate per mile, you're hitting those you're hitting those, right? My philosophy is it's about the all miles, it's about the daily rate. And if you go and that's what Cascade is kind of talking about. Maybe I need to bring him on sometime and he can talk about his strategies. But he'll go into a dead area and use strategic deadhead. There's three kinds of deadhead. There's just deadhead, I'm getting the hell out. I don't care what I get afterwards. I call that blind deadhead. I don't recommend that unless you're in Miami and you just go north, right? Um, there's you got the blind deadhead, and then you have strategic deadhead where you book your load, you expand your radius, and you book your load according to what you find out of there. So let's say if you're in Denver, well, let's do a five, let's do a bigger radius of Denver, and then you'll pop up Kansas City, a couple other places, and then you like, okay, if I was trapped on a Monday in Denver and I don't find anything I like or that works to get me to a better area, then what I'll do is I'll look for Kansas City for Tuesday, knowing that between Denver and Kansas City is about 600 something miles, because it's going to take you all day to drive those miles, empty or not, right? And then that immediately puts you, I wouldn't go to Kansas City unless you book a load, because sometimes you'll get to Kansas City and then now you're deadheading another 100 miles to find something beyond that, and then you lose time. So that's a type of deadhead as well. So I think I said three. I think there's only two types, really. So Wilmer, Texas. I mean, these are all going and see it's updated. So loads. Sometimes I'll be on this for 5 minutes, and this will loads are disappearing like crazy. Now we're getting into like Texas, Maine, New Hampshire, Texas. Like I'm not seeing anything in the Missouri. Oh, here we go. Ashland, Warrensburg. It's actually not a bad rate for that. 226 a mile. 2 picks. There you go. Multi stops. I would do this load because I know who that customer is in Warrensburg. So New Concord to Warrensburg. I know who those customers are. I've done this load many times. The shipper can take a minute, and you have to fill out like 18,000 bill of ladings. But the delivery is not too bad. There's a truck stop. This is Dollar General or Family Dollar. Not Dollar General. Family Dollar or Dollar Tree. Not Dollar General. And there's a truck stop literally next door. You can throw a rock and hit the building. So that's a good run. And they're north of $2 a mile. Not much north, but they're a little bit. But Warrensburg's a good spot. Warrensburg is smack dab in the middle of Missouri. you can get stuff from St. Louis, Kansas City, or Springfield in that market right there. So I would take that one, and that's depending on the delivery times. So pick up and delivery time. So if that delivers, let's see what the dates are on this. Picks up the 6th, but it doesn't deliver till the 9th. So they're putting you 3 days on a 685-mile load. That's the other thing. And well, kind of. It picks up at 8 p.m. So it's about the right amount of time. It's mixed product, so those loads tend to take a little bit longer to unload. So, going to do a live video in this video. You just brought up something I will send unlisted first. Not bad. Okay. Some would say, think outside the box. Why is there a box? I saw what you did there. I think last time I was looking at Arizona load, I paid $3 a mile to go out there from the East Coast, and then 85 cents. What's the best rate I could get going to West Texas in flatbed? Are you telling me that was the best? I've never done a load beneath $1 ever, and I'm thinking I've never done a load below $1.50 ever. Nor have I booked a load for underneath $1.50. Jackknife, how's the tow? So you're already on a tow truck, or did you tow a truck? Way too long. And then at the end of, they pretty much held me hostage. It was only supposed to be $350 to rent the tow unit, and then they said the initial $150 I gave them was a deposit. Nice, Sterling. What is? Oh, Sterling gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. See, I don't see that on the StreamYard, but I see it here. That's why I got my phone running in the foreground. Thank you, Sterling. Appreciate that. Some use dumb deadhead. It has to be thought out and well planned. There you go. Yeah, because sometimes, like, I've done this, right? I'll do a load to Tulsa, and then I'll just deadhead to Joplin, and then the Tulsa market will be better than Joplin for a minute. It's rare, but it happens. So I try not to deadhead. Look, I have no problem using a 500-mile radius for myself. Now, depending on the parameters that a driver sets for me, if they say it's got to be under 100 miles, I'm like, okay, that really puts constraint on what I can book them then. But if the deadhead makes sense, then it makes sense. If it keeps the truck moving and keeps keeps you profitable, then there's no problem with it. I know people with food grade tank freight that will do loads from Missouri all the way to California, and they could deadhead back to Texas and still be at a big profit because that freight pays so well. And because of the challenges of washing out tanks and everything, they just rather just have that truck back to where the real customers are at. And so they've put that into their rate. Well, if you want my truck dedicated to you got to pay me round trip money. And so that's where your costs come in, knowing your costs. So CDN time springs forward this Sunday, March 12th at 2 a.m. Keep in mind if you have a Sunday pickup or delivery, yes. Solar drivers, you are about to get some more time to drive. Tolga, what's up? Deadhead can be good and help you make more of it, or it can kill you. It is dangerous and risky, but well planned, it can make you money. That is absolutely true. What do you have for prediction of rates this time next year? I have no idea, Marty. I'm not even going to pretend I know what I'm talking about on that. So, also Friday marks the end of the quarter for 2023. There could be a spike in volume the week of March 27th through the 31st. Be ready. Also, April 1st, time to set your tax money aside. Yep. Jackknife, I'm sorry, my bud. I was enjoying the videos. Learning experience for sure. Thanks for posting it. Love the learning bad side of owner ops. Sorry it was at your expense. I used to do pretty good going into or out of the Minneapolis. Worst comes to worst, I would have to take a cheap load down to Chicagoland, but I could always get out from there. I just did 4,000 miles in 8 days, 750 miles of it deadhead, and did 9K in revenue. That was flatbed. I think it was like 5 or 6 months ago I had to do that. 4JS, thank you, Jim. Thank you for the gift membership, Sterling. I appreciate that. Mr. Chucky, what's up? Here's another type of deadhead round trip money. Yeah, that's true. And I've done that. During the shutdowns, I booked 3 charcoal loads out of Rolla going down to Arkansas. I just booked them. So give me one for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I just deadheaded back. I mean, I looked for loads that would get me back, but there was none. So, and my daily rate was still pretty good. My rate per mile was like $1.50 all miles. But you know what? My rate per day was actually decent, and I was moving. I wasn't fighting the low boards. I wasn't fighting for scraps, and it was an easy run. Shipper and receiver were just freaking phenomenal, and that's the kind of stuff I look for all the time. If that popped up right now, I would probably make some changes to my monthly schedule here and run that. So that was for picking up my old international. Okay, I see. I need warning when you take time off. LOL. Hope all is well. You need warning? Why do you need warning? What do you feel the average driver break even per mile per day cost is? I have no idea, Sage. I'm gonna say it's probably, depending on the fuel mileage of your truck, close to $2. And I know people will yell at me for that. My costs are only 85 cents a mile. No, they ain't. Your fuel cost might be that. Now fuel is down, but the cost of everything else. So I mean, if you're, I think, I don't know. I don't know what that number is. I don't know what the average would be because everybody's all over the place. I know people with new trucks that have lower costs than people with used trucks, and that is possible. I know that sounds absurd, but it's true. A used truck or an older truck, I guess, is probably, they're all used at some point. An older truck can give you the impression that your costs are low, but they're actually not. I'm a perfect example of that. I have a paid off truck, but man, it's nickel and diming me, even though I'm not driving it. So it just depends. Flatbed trucker, what's up? Hey Sterling, that buy you a full tank yesterday. What do you feel the average driver break even per mile per day cost? I think I already read that. What do I feel? My feelings don't matter, man. I don't know, Sage. I would say it's probably at least $2 a mile, depending on how many miles you're running. If you're running more than that, it might be a higher two, but for the most part, I'd say like close to $2 a mile. And so a lot of the market's not supporting that right now. That's the reality. Support great channels, Metalheads Unite, form of freight conveyance technicians. That's it. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn. I'm a freight conveyance technician. I wouldn't have the risk of owning equipment at less than 250 mile average. Not worth the headaches. Jackknife, yep, that's where it's at. Snorelord, a dedicated customer that's willing to pay you all miles to have you just dedicated to their account, usually build a bond, and that's hard to break unless new management comes in or company sells. And that's that you're absolutely right with that, I believe. That number's all over the board. Some say $1.20, some say $2.50. That's why $2 would be the kind of the target, I think. Look, if you're here's the thing, if you're doing get my calculator out here. If you're doing 3,000 miles a week divided by, let's say you're awesome and you got a brand new truck, you're getting 8 miles to the gallon. That's 375 gallons of fuel times what's the average cost of fuel right now? $4. That's $1,500 in fuel. Okay, so that's 50 cents a mile alone, just in fuel on an 8 mile per gallon truck. So these people that say, so okay, so 50 cents. Someone make a mental note, 50 cents, okay? If your insurance is this is at 3,000 miles a week, okay? If your insurance is at $300 a month, or let's say your insurance is 500, that's occupational, all that stuff. That adds to that 50 cents. So you're looking at 2,000. Oh wait, no, hold on. 1,500. So you take that 500 divided by 3,000 miles. That's 16 cents. No, I'm doing that wrong. For that trip, it would be, but that's your insurance for the entire month. So, 3,000 times, if you're doing that every week, times 4, that's 12,000 divided by 500. 500 divided by 12,000. That's 4 cents. That adds 4 cents a mile. So now we're at 54 cents. And then your truck payment. What's your truck payment? If your truck payment's 3,000 a month, because obviously it's going to be probably higher if you're going to 8 miles per gallon. Divide that by 12,000. That's 25 cents. So right there, just in fuel, insurance, and truck payment, 25 plus 0.4 plus 0.5. That's 79 cents a mile. Well, no, that's not accurate either because we got to do the 1,500 times 4 for the month. So that's 6,000. So 6,000 divided by 12,000. That's 50 cents. So just in that alone, you're pretty high. So then you have to counter in all the accessorials. So Sage, that depends on a lot of things. I know when I was running an employee, I had a very cheap truck note, and fuel was $4.50 a gallon. In Pennsylvania, it was $1.75 before I made any money. Operation cost has many variables and unique to every situation, but you could ballpark it. It also depends on what you include in that number. Some put their house expenses, others don't. When it comes to home expenses, this is what has to be done. Okay? This is what I do. You separate your operating costs and know what that number is, and then you add your house expenses and know what that total number is. That way, you know who's going to get paid and who isn't. So if your operating costs are $2 a mile, but then when you add your home expenses, now you're at $3 a mile, you're screwed. You've bought too much crap at home. Or, you're supporting the family by yourself. Or both. And so, and you want to isolate what's the actual cost per mile of think about if you're a company driver, right? You're not going to go out and buy a $90,000 car if you're only making like 40 cents a mile, right? At 2,500 miles a week, right? You budget it, right? So you have to create a home budget. And what can the business afford? So if you're a sole proprietor, you're probably throwing that house expense in. But if not, you got to put in your salary, and then your home expenses have to stay within that salary. It's not rocket science. Today, that would probably be an easy 190 or 850 a day to break even. About 4 years ago, I could break even. It was $700 a day. Dry van, much cheaper operation cost than heavy haul. That is absolutely true. Jackknife sponsored a tank of gas for me yesterday. Much appreciated. There you go. 4. I've only met 16 one carrier, one driver that has round trip dedicated. I've only met out of 16 years. I've only met one carrier that has round trip dedicated customer. This is very, very hard to find that kind of customer. 62 in this chat. Anyone dedicated? That's a great question. Well, paying yourself 60 cents per mile and fuel costs about 60 cents per mile, so $1.20 is crazy low. There you go. Are we semiconductors? Probably. No insurance is $1,000 a month for your own numbers. Okay, so CDN. Well, I know a broker that I used to lease purchase a truck and trailer from who did dedicated utility poles for years. Almost lost it when they sold out. Then changed a few things around and burdened the drivers, owner operators with the cost. Then the company run a dedicated Tyson loads has been a partner with them for years, probably 20 plus. $2 a mile at 80-20 split is $1.60 minus fuel is $1.10 minus maintenance and truck costs 75 cents minus federal and state tax equals driver. Yeah, then the tax man cometh. $1,000 a month for insurance is pretty cheap. Before the pandemic, I was looking at just a hair under $1,000 a month. Now it's $1,350. This is why I'm building you a BHAT, which I have no idea what that is. Thanks for supporting Snorelord with my gift and membership, Sterling. Thank you. Worked on it yesterday. That confirms how hard it is. Call 100 shippers this week and say you'll run dedicated. 90 will say they don't have the volume to commit. 5 will say no. 5 will say okay, but pay one-way rate. Yep. What is the real cost of risk exposure of an owner operator versus protection of a company driver? That's something that every person has to ask themselves. I can tell you that a lot of people, or at least management inside the pole company, when you said dedicated, they would automatically think a higher cost, even if your service was better. All my customers are dedicated for decades. I tried to snag a dedicated rail tie division with them, and they did not want to commit on a rate. I bet after the pandemic they would have. Yeah, Don's figured out a dedicated run. But see, here's how he did it. He called me up and he was like, okay, the rate per mile is kind of low, but the rate per day actually works. So as long as the time works out, if he wants to find a backhaul, he might be able to. But for the most part, he's staying on it. And he knows exactly what he's doing every day. But his costs are low enough to manage it as well. Because you can't price a dedicated run like you would, like you're calling TQL for the highest rate on a load out of, Texas. You can't approach it like that. It's a whole different ball game of negotiating. So CDN, it used to be McFarland out of Washington, then Stella Jones out of Canada bought them out, and it was rough after that because the investors keep happy. Yep. Yeah, that's how it always is with companies. But um, look, I don't claim to know anything really. I just know that a lot of people are struggling because their costs are too high in this market, or they can't get out of their own way, and that's the reality of the situation. And it's all about mindset and and just just keep on keeping on, keep swimming, pay attention, and if try not to paint yourself into a corner with your cost or with your freight. I only do round trip dedicated at a much better rate than a company driver would earn. My risk is valid. The the other element is you can do like you might have a truck that brings dedicated freight out of the Northeast to the Northwest. And so you're willing to grab anything to get back to that Northeast, so you're not deadheading all that way because you're not going to get a round trip rate on something like that. You might get a round trip rate, bounce from Kansas City to St. Louis and back, but you're not going to get a round trip rate going from, say, I don't know, Carlisle, Pennsylvania to Seattle, Washington. You're not going to get that. That'd be ridiculous. And so it's up to you to find your backhauls, and that's another spot where I can come in and help. So, I mean, you are limited on what you can take back, and so the smart move is to find something that's kind of semi-dedicated to get back with. And that's why I know people that are doing very well in the spot market still, and they only work with 2 or 3 brokers. They're doing the same thing to a place, and they're doing the same thing coming back. That is the ideal money right there. My plan is to ride this sucker till the broker drops off or they fire the broker, then hopefully they'll come talk to me. There you go. Dedicated is as long as the next underbid carrier. Shippers can't turn away to save money on freight, even if they're getting great service. I don't recommend building your carrier around dedicated. Seeing it all depends. If this falls through, I always have what I was doing before. Plus, this area is a decent market compared to the rest. Snorelord, when I had an employee in 2018, I paid him $25 an hour plus overtime after 10 hours W2. My cost per mile was $1.75 before I made any money, or $7.50 a day. Well, those answers are for Sage. There's a lot of people running out here that I don't see how they're doing it, to be honest with you, with their costs. Or they're sweating pretty much. And that's how it should be in any market, good or bad, up or down, tight or loose. Keeping your costs down is critical. Being sloppy is critical. On being sloppy is critical. You have plan A, B, and C. Most don't think that way. That's true. So with that being said, I'm done. I'm done hearing myself talk about things. So, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for the gift memberships. 48065 if you want to check out the 123 low board for free. Don't take my word for it. If you're a broker, you can post for free on this low board. Also, Like Trucking is looking for contractors, and we have some empty trailers available. and I appreciate the channel support you guys have given me. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys at Matt's. Those of you who want to show up and shake our hands and say hi. And who knows what next week will bring. Just keep your head calm, cool, and collected, and don't make rash decisions based off emotion, and you'll get through this just fine. So, alrighty. So, with that being said, thanks for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And until next time, peace.